what the OIC approach, so to speak, has been on many things that in fact impact the Muslim nations. And this is another CNN News 18 mega exclusive. As per intel sources, we are able to dissect that disjointed response by the OIC on many occasions, which in fact is laying bare on how OIC is coming across as a failed body and it doesn't have anything substantive to deliver. They have not raised a voice on any occasion, including with the Gaza issue and also the Iranian attacks, as top intel sources are also suggesting that it lacks enforcement powers. Also, a collective defense mechanism is completely missing, and it operates on the consensus, which is so far divided and largely symbolic. Anand?
Well, the OIC is again an interesting conundrum. They are an organization of 56 to 58 nations, Islamic nations. Largely, it is the Arab-driven nations who believe that that's where Islam originated and they are the custodians of Islam. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, that have controlled the narrative. Of late, there have been factions within, like Turkey, Malaysia, Iran and Pakistan, which have tried to raise a different bloc and create a separate bloc. Now, even now, the OIC statements and platforms that have been used to condemn American strikes on Iran have not seen huge amount of voice except for concern over nuclear spillage and nuclear leakage and escalation of this conflict, that it spills over into the rest of the West Asian region. Most of the neighboring countries and most of the other nations have already seen the difference that economics and trade brings, and they have shunned a lot of the hostilities. Bahrain, for example, was hostile to Iran, but ever since the Abraham Accords have been signed, the position has been different. The likes of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Jordan, Oman, all of these nations have realized the importance of economics, the importance of trade. Qatar, for that matter, Malaysia for that matter, Indonesia for that matter, all of them have seen the need for peace, the need for economic trade to go on, and more importantly, the need for stability. So that's why there is this position that nations which are trying to seize control of the OIC for their own individual personal purposes or furthering their own agenda, they seem to be failing. The OIC, if it is being used for constructive purposes, will work. But Iran has fought a war with Iraq. Iran has hostilities with Saudi Arabia because it is backing the Houthis there. Iran has a problem with Yemen. The Houthis are operating out of Yemen. Iran also has not made friends within the Islamic world in and around. The Shia-Sunni factor, the sectarian fights and the sectarian ideological fights have also had its share of damage on the OIC. So they all group together not as a military entity but as a trading entity, so that in the Islamic world they become a lobby for power in terms of trade and money and economic heft. So that was the original purpose. So that's the problem. Irony is that the largest number of Muslims reside in Bharat, and Bharat is not officially a member of OIC. And a nation like Pakistan, which is a haven for terror and which is only bringing bad name to Islam, is somebody who's trying to influence the OIC in its favor. So that's why many people believe that the relevance of the OIC in its current shape, just like the relevance of the UN in its current shape, is redundant.
So basically, the legitimacy is a big question here, Anand, and you mentioned about that 8-year-long war that Iraq and Iran were involved in. And that is something that, in fact, speaks volumes of this great Shia and Sunni divide. You were just mentioning it in context of Pakistan as well. Where does OIC go from here on? Because here in this case and in this particular conflict, we see how there is no unified action, particularly in context of the Saudi Arabia and Iran.
See, in this case, what happens is the OIC nations don't agree with Iran's nuclear program. Iran has pursued an agenda with the Hamas, the Hezbollah, the Houthis and other nations which have fomented trouble and created trouble for the neighboring Islamic nations. So there is a history. There are nations which want to move forward. Iran is supposed to be a signatory to the NPT, so that it is supposed to enrich uranium only for civil purposes. But if it is weaponizing, and if Iran becomes a nuclear power in this entire Islamic bloc, then a Shia nation is going to become a nuclear power over and above the Sunni nations. Now that's going to fuel an entire nuclear race within the Islamic world, with every nation wanting to become nuclear tipped. Pakistan's nuclear arsenal, how effective it is and whether or not they have even control of it, we knew in 90 hours. We showed to the world. The Americans empowered Pakistan and they are paying the price for it even now. in this entire standoff with India. So there is a lot of geopolitics over and above religion here, but that's the case. There are many Islamic nations who do not want Iran to become a nuclear power. Right. That's because Iran will spiral out of control and it will start claiming a dominance in the Islamic world, which sectarian, if you look at it, is unacceptable to largely Sunni-driven nations.
Absolutely. Anand, thank you so much for that perspective.